Sid, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time and being on our Liveview show.
Well, George, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we get started about the project that you were just doing a little while ago, can you first tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background and your company's history?
Bill Young Productions is an organization that has a long tenured history, going over 35 years old. Company founded, interestingly enough, in the music and entertainment space. We were and still are known as the company that produces radio, television, and print materials for the music and touring industry. So when folks go on tour, when you're in the car and you hear this Saturday night, Bon Jovi live at name the venue in your town, we produce that material. So we leverage the tools and the capabilities we have from the entertainment side of our business and allow us to inject some of that fun into our corporate business.
So based out of Houston, but you do projects around the globe?
We do projects globally. We have offices in Houston, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas, but our main corporate headquarters is here in Houston. We've got 10 4K edit suites here. We've got 8 audio suites, all with nationally recognized voice talent here, as well as 3D and motion graphics guys and web guys and digital guys. So it makes a great environment. So everything we have, we do in-house. We don't have a need to go out of house to produce a lot of content.
Let's talk a little bit about how you came to learn about Liveview. How did that happen?
Well, I think we do a lot of remote work, so I think we've all been familiar with the product. Having some familiarity with broadcast, it's not uncommon to see a Liveview logo up in the back of the newsroom every once in a while. So, it really made sense for us to invest in the program when we had this opportunity, and we had this unique challenge, and we needed to find a way to get live video from a place where there wasn't a lot of options.
So why don't we talk about that challenge that you had, because it is a unique one that we really hadn't heard about at Liveview before. Obviously we're in the broadcast space, sports, and many other verticals, but this was one that just was out there for us. So why don't you explain a little bit about what you were doing and what the challenge was that you faced?
Sure. So we were working with one of our oil and gas clients, and we were, I would say, about 50 miles offshore in the Gulf of Mexico, and we were documenting the layover of a older oil and gas platform. And it was sitting in about 1,000 feet of water, and the platform had gone through its usefulness, and they were going to lay it over. They had the company had taken 3 years to negotiate with the federal authorities and the state authorities to basically turn this platform into a reef for fish and marine life. But it was the way the platform was constructed is it had rather large, we're talking, steel cables with this kind of diameter, holding the platform to the ocean floor. So part of the process of laying this rig over was to cut these cables at the right time. And the only way to do that was with explosive charges that were into these custom built cable cutters. So as we were documenting the process and documenting, all of the different procedures that went on, I think it took over 3 months to, once they arrived on site before they could lay it over. We ran into a COVID challenge. Imagine that. The folks that were coming out from the explosives team were on another crew boat coming out to the working platform. And one of the engineers on that boat became COVID positive. And so with that happening, that prevented the crew of that entire boat from joining the crew that was on the platform where they were working to pull this rig over. So there was a very, very quick and hurried call to us saying, you're already out here documenting the process. We need to find a way to put the folks that were on that vessel that can't come aboard in touch with the 2 people that had already been on board earlier to view the explosives, to view the mixing of the various components, to verify all of these procedures in real time, so that this process could continue to move forward. We were told by our client that for every day that they could not work, it was $500,000.
So in other words, the people that were on the boat that ended up with COVID were integral to this process, and
Absolutely,
that they needed to be there virtually somehow to supervise and oversee what was going on.
Yeah, they were the subject matter experts. They had to sign off on every single step of the process. This was a very process-driven plan. And so you would take the cap that held the gunpowder and you would have to measure a certain amount of grams of gunpowder. And then that had to be inspected and signed off on. And this is what was really amazing to me. We had people in Seattle, people in our offices in Houston, people in Louisiana, and 2 people in their cars driving to the airport, all logged on and looking at this operation and commenting on this operation in real time.
To explain the workflow then. So when you found out this happened, they came to you as the expert, subject matter experts, in this case, on your end of the workflow, right? So what did you do? What did you go back to them and recommend on how you were going to solve this problem?
Well, we had a couple of, there was a couple of components that made up the solution. And we also had some unique challenges. Let's take the first one. We're 50 miles offshore. There's not a lot of cell towers in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So what we did is to augment the cellular modems that were in the Liveview unit, we also brought to the vessel in the middle of the Gulf a KU satellite band, satellite dish.
Connected to 600 to the satellite dish via Ethernet. So you had a hybrid type of configuration, cell and sat. Correct. Working to send the signal out.
Right. And then, so part of the challenge, part of what we had to do is there had to be this very dynamic 2-way conversation that in audio that had to happen in real time. So what we did is we advised a solution that went hand in hand with the Liveview unit from with some products from Clearcom. And Clearcom has a IP-based comm system. And because it was important that we keep the hands free of the technicians. So we used traditional comms headsets. We had wired headsets in the explosive shack. We couldn't use anything with RF because of the explosives. There's a concern that the RF could ignite the explosives. So we put a traditional party line system into the explosive shack, and then we converted that into IP, which we used on a side channel of the satellite to come back. So what we did is we conceived a product that used your immediate and video along with Clearcom's audio. And then what we did is we embedded that into a web stream for folks that who wanted to listen but did not need to communicate. And we used ultra low latency web servers, which gave us that real-time connection over the web. And so that everybody was able to communicate and observe during the process. In fact, one of the unintended side effects that was great is we were able to broadcast the laying over of the actual rig to corporate headquarters for the organization. So there were thousands of people who got to watch that. That's something that would not have been possible without the Liveview unit.
And what was the feedback that you got from the client after you completed this and after they saw what you could do?
Utter and total amazement. I mean, I can't tell you how great the compliments we got were, because I think the great thing that happened out of this situation is we parted the curtain for a lot of folks. We were able to show them things and let them experience things that they never ever would have gotten to experience before. We're working with a lot of other oil and gas clients right now and talking, how can we make this technology available to them so they can keep, their high-priced assets at home and still have the same great eyes and ears that they would if they were out on site. You could always do a picture or you could always do a Zoom call, but they're not going to give you the level of clarity and the ability that you're going to get with a solution like what we put together with Liveview.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to make mention of before we close it out?
No, I just want to, your team was great. We came up with a challenge, and we were able to work with y'all's team to validate, some of the thoughts that I had in my head, because literally had 48 hours from the call to when we had to start getting gear on the board the vessel. So when I say we were running and gunning, I mean, that was getting gear from you and other providers and getting it installed, racked, tested, and then put on a vessel, getting it shipped across the Gulf, getting it set up, and then doing all of that. It was quick and fast, and it was great to have the help both of your sales team and your engineering team to make sure it worked like we envisioned it.
Well, I want to say thank you again, Sid. You really did a great job for us today on the show, and appreciate your time as always. And Bill Young Productions, excellent job and great story. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity to share it with you.